There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
Hi, you're listening to Edge Radio 99.3 FM, and we're coming from a state of volume. How's my co-host's volume? You're looking confused and bewildered.
I can't actually hear you through this.
Okay.
Nor myself.
Oh, right. I wonder if they took it out. Well, why don't you try the other headphones there? This is all part of the immersiveness of live radio.
Testing.
Edge Radio.
Testing. Is that testing? Well, no, I can hear it. Sort of. Yeah.
Okay, I've got all your mics on. So you're coming in stereo.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I can't hear anything. I'm just going to take.
you
it
can't
off.
hear anything.
Well, I can, but I can't hear myself.
Oh, well, I'll change the volume settings from here. So put your headphones on. It's this one. And anyway, welcome to Edge Radio. This is Media Mothership episode 90.
Hello. Okay. Now it's working.
Great.
Yes.
Of Media Mothership, broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. On this show, we explore everything in and around the world of media. And
Everything.
we explore, being the important point. I mean, like any explorer, you stumble across things that are in front of you and a lot you don't see.
And then we sell it for lots of money
Hopefully,
to the homeland.
Yeah, a Patreon. Well, we won't go colonial. So we're streaming on edgeradio.org.au, YouTube, and Twitch. Yep, we've got the chat window up on the stream window, and you can find us by just searching Media Mothership.
Yeah.
Message us on the chat at YouTube or Twitch, or SMS us on 0488 11707. I'm your host, Craig, joined by Taylor.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your...
Wow. Okay, no.
It's just going in and out, isn't it?
It is, yeah. See, I told you there was something wrong with it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's picking up, sometimes it's not. Weird. You could put mirth mics next to your mouth. I don't know. Let's just push on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing it. So we've got a lot on today's show to explore.
Yep.
Including the main topic of today, which is video games, and focusing on the phenomena of save scumming. Right?
Wow.
And you know, the phrase save sounds nice, but scumming, I mean, who wants to scum? So we're going to explore that idea of what save scumming is, what its practice is, some theories around it, and we're going to confess our own save scumming sins. But before that, we're going to get into a little bit of...
Very smooth.
News. I know. Well,
Very smooth.
I'm trying to look for an interlude song.
In the last installment of our Radio Rookies series this week, a
It's
story.
just not that. I've only got 2 tracks on my USB. Now that really is. All right, let's just push on.
You've only got 2 tracks on USB, and you played that one.
All right, news. 3 video game news stories that I've come across. One about the movie Superbad, a character played by Jonah Hill. It's come out in a interview with co-writer Seth Rogen that Sony, who was one of the main sponsors, they also provided the Sony PlayStation. I think it was probably PlayStation 2. That was in the movie. So there's a scene where they're playing the PlayStation, and Sony required them not to have the character played by Jonah Hill use or touch even the PlayStation.
Wow.
Because they read the script, they didn't like that character, and they thought, we don't want that character associated with this.
Is that the movie with McLovin in it?
Maybe I've seen it. I've got very vague memories. SMSN
same.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Where again, this moment of corporate control, being able to dictate a scene, and indeed, if you look at the scene that they're referring to, Jonah Hill's character doesn't come anywhere near it. So we're happy to also abide by any rules and regulations on this show.
Yeah.
So if you do want to sponsor on Edge Radio and have Media Mothership there, we're more than happy to take script notes about not being near objects. Next news story is from Kotaku. The headline is Disappointed Fans Inspired Ubisoft to Create a Canon Mode for Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Okay.
Okay, so you've heard of Assassin's Creed Shadows? I think it's just launched, right? Just recently.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed, of course, huge franchise where you go into... you're playing a kind of uber assassin character throughout history. There's a time-traveling kind of aspect to it.
Some sort of science fiction aspect.
Sci-fi. Anyway, the latest one is set in Japan. There's a lot of controversy around it. It's set during the early Sengoku Jidai period, the Civil War period. You can play as the African samurai, whose name is on the top of my head, but I've forgotten, or a ninja girl. A lot of controversy around it. What's really interesting about it is this canon mode idea. Mm-hmm. So basically, what it means is the choices you make in this game, because it has an RPG, role-playing game element to it, feedback they had from gamers in previous iterations of Assassin's Creed resulted in Ubisoft claiming that some gamers just want to play the canonical story, right? They don't actually want choices. They don't want to have the choice wheel and like choose which three. They just want the narrative path, like a movie, which is the ideal canonical pathway for the game. So you can play in canon mode, which basically means it's all the other choices are removed and it just adheres to what the original script has defined as the canon main storyline way. Importantly, Ubisoft went on to explain that while this is a choice, you can choose the canonical mode. Even if you choose this mode, importantly, you'll be free to kiss whoever you want still. Which I imagine is kind of in relation to some of the controversy of Baldur's Gate 3, the whole kind of romancing aspect of it. I mean, Witcher, Baldur's Gate 3, there's this whole interesting, I guess, somewhat taboo talking about the kind of sexiness of playing the game. So you can kiss whoever you want, which, yeah.
Can I play a mode where I don't have to do that?
What, any kissing at all?
Yeah.
That's right.
Doesn't advance the game.
I like the direction you took it. So, So in a recent interview with Game Rant, creative director Jonathan Dumont talked about how the canon mode in Shadows, while many people love those RPG stories, others miss the fact that there was not a longer single agreed upon meta narrative. So so this is him quoting him, when we introduced a choice of characters and dialogue choices in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, many of our fans loved this idea, but some expressed their disappointment in not having a definitive and canon-driven narrative for the game that could be embedded in the AC lore meta story. So you can say, as Foucault pronounced, the earth is dead. This, however, suggests otherwise, that in many cases people love authorial voice, authorial intention, and in fact don't want the, fanfic element emerging from their gameplay. How do you feel? Do you try and stick to, when you're playing an RPG game, a kind of, do you get the feeling of a dominant storyline and how you want to play through a game like that?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm immediately thinking of Skyrim, of course.
You've sunk many hours.
Which I've sunk many hours into. And they have the sort of like the main... Oh, hello. It's gone again. Hello.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess just have that mic near you.
Yeah. What was I talking about? Skyrim. They've got the main storyline which goes throughout the game, but no one ever really completes... I've never completed the game.
Right.
Despite spending at least 5,000 hours in it.
And look, and that's one of the things that's so interesting in terms of the example people give to why video games are different from movies, which is that you can be comparing the experience you had in the video game and realize you never had that encounter. You never had, you never got a dog in Fallout 3 or something, but someone else did. And that kind of distinctiveness can be what's rewarding. Interestingly, though, again, that pull and that desire for a controlled authorial voice to just get through it. I mean, one way I know I do it is sometimes I'll get frustrated at how difficult a game is, like some of the early Yakuza games, and I'll just go for 0 difficulty setting, just so I can just almost watch it like a movie. I just want to get through it and enjoy the story, and that kind of addresses a similar thing, right? Where it's like, they sunk all this time into a carefully calibrated series of complexities for gaming, but then, if you want to just get the story, you can just go for 0 difficulty and...
Well, that's what I do when I play Civilization.
Oh, the 4X strategy game?
It's 4X.
What is it? Explore, exterminate, expand, and some other X.
Extraterrestrial. Well, I go and play the game, like as you're supposed to play the game, and then usually near the end of the game, you've got the other civilization, which has grown very wide and put heaps into military, and they start surrounding your city.
Yes.
And then you just turn on place unlimited units.
Right.
And then just place cannons all around their city.
Well, I do want to get into that phenomena of what you do when you get frustrated at the game getting hard on you. Okay, but we'll just park that for the moment. The last story is on Pokemon.
Who's Pokemon?
Pokemon.
Like Pocahontas, but...
Anthropic uses Pokemon to benchmark its newest AI model. So Anthropic...
Which is Claude.
Oh, right, really. So they've used Pokemon to benchmark its newest AI model. This is on TechCrunch. And they talk about how in a blog post, they talked about how they used the Game Boy Classic Pokemon Red. Their explanation was a unique feature of Claude 3.7 Sonnet is its ability to engage in extended thinking. So they talk about that a bit. And then it's, they wanted to challenge its problem making, and that came in handy in Pokemon Red. So what they've done is...
Do I choose Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle?
Well, they say that, compared to previous versions of Claude 3.0, so previous versions of Claude failed to leave the house in Pallet Town, right, as they were training on it. However, Claude 3.7 not only was able to leave Pallet Town, but was also able to successfully battle 3 Pokemon gym leaders.
Nice.
That's smashing. And that's how isn't it fascinating? They're testing its ability for decision making through this. So they're saying Anthropic only said that the model performed 35,000 actions to reach the last gym leader, Surge. Wow. Pokemon Red, is more of a toy benchmark than anything. However, there is a long history of games being used for AI benchmarking purposes. In the past few months alone, a number of new apps and platforms have cropped up to test their AI models' game-playing abilities using Street Fighter, and then others all the way to the Pictionary.
But can it run Doom?
Can it run Doom? Exactly. All right, so that's pretty much the news.
I've got to think about Pokemon.
Please do.
Yep. Pokemon Go, though.
Not right. Yep, the one that's on the mobile phone.
Yep, the one on your phone, Pokemon Go. Recently been acquired by Scopely. So Niantic no longer control it. It's going to be going over to Scopely, who also do the Monopoly Go and have done a couple of other ones. And basically, as soon as they get hold of a franchise, they microtransact it into the ground.
Oh, no.
So if you've got Pokemon Go and you've got Pokemon Home, I would recommend taking all of your favourites and putting them onto the consoles.
Right.
Avoid the replay.
Wow, just right over the top of me speaking.
No, that's a remix reply to what you were saying. It was a natural beat in conversation. Well, that's troubling news in terms of, probably what was one of those incredibly successful games that had everyone, getting out there and enjoying the world around them.
Yep.
So can you move those saves or something? Can you
You
salvage
can
them?
move singular Pokemon through Pokemon Home to any of the Switch console games.
Right. So the idea would be migrating off your phone
Mm-hmm.
the unlocks and Pokemon you've got.
However, the rarer ones, such as like a mythical that's shiny, takes all of the they call it Pokemon Go Transporter energy, which takes 2 weeks to fill back up again. So you have to
Plan ahead.
plan ahead. Start doing it now.
Oh dear.
And Scopely, of course, is a branch of the Saudi Arabian government as well, which is great.
Wow. It just gets worse, doesn't it? All right. Well, talking of how you manage gaming environments, I'd like to move on to today's main topic, save scumming, and to introduce it, let's play a couple of YouTubes. That'll set the scene.
No. These people are here in the studio, aren't they?
I don't think I can claim copyright so severely for their physical bodies. So this is one from Game Makers called Playing Past Your Mistakes. But it starts off quite well with this phenomenon of save scumming.
Okay.
In the manual for Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, Bethesda left a message encouraging players to avoid the replay the save game strategy. They said, most computer gamers use the save game to maximize their playing ability. Anytime something goes wrong, they return to a save game and replay it until they get it right. The final history of their game looks like an endless streak of lucky breaks and perfect choices. But role-playing is not about playing the perfect game. It is about building a character and creating a story. In fact, you will never see some of the most interesting aspects of the game unless you play through your mistakes. If your character dies, by all means return to your last save game and replay it. However, if your character is caught pickpocketing, if a quest goes wrong, or some other mundane mishap occurs, let it play out. You may be surprised by what happens next. This is a noble stand against save scumming, which is the art of returning to an old save file the second you get spotted in a stealth game, or lose a beloved team member in an RPG, or get a bad roll in a game with random numbers. And it's sorely
So that's setting up the idea we're getting to, and the reason why I'm wanting to talk about save scumming. That is, as they explain there, it's the moment where you're playing the video game and you get to what you think is going to be a really tricky moment. And so you, in some games, are able to manually save it at that point. And then you're thinking, well, I'll save it here just in case it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And inevitably, it might not go well, at which point you decide, oh, I've got to replay that again until I get it well. So there's an article from the University of Massachusetts broke it down into 4 key steps to save scumming. First step is to create that save point. So you've got to be playing a game that allows you to do that. Right, and there are games which don't allow you to do that deliberately to stop people making this move. So you've got to be able to play a game that
Like
allows
Bubble.
you. That's some hard, like Resident Evil. Aren't there some Resident Evils where it's only auto save, or you can play games which I know in Paradox you can do it as Iron Man mode, which means you can't auto save, you can't manually save. Sorry, it only saves when you shut the game down. So the first step is you've got to be able to create that save point. Second one is, of course, you're going to play through that encounter after the save point and then judge whether you failed or unsatisfactorily had the outcome. And this is where I think this moment can become an endless loop, right? How satisfied are you at what you've resolved? So if you felt you failed or unsatisfactorily achieved or not achieved something, you'll retry it. So those 4 things create that loop. Much like in a kind of Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow movie.
I like that.
Which revolves on a similar kind of replaying encounter moment. The article goes on to explain there's 4 different games which this often becomes really problematic in or common in. One is role-playing games. So this clip here we just listened to talked about which early version of it? It was
Daggerfall.
Was it? Let's listen.
In the manual for Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall,
Yeah, so that's a role-playing game, right? So that idea is you've got a character progressing along a narrative path, and the save scumming is hoping to build like an optimized build, right? For the type of story outcome you want. So in the example of the article we're looking at, players might save before making a tough choice to ensure they receive the best rewards or character relationships. Games such as Witcher 3 or Fire Emblem series are notorious for providing complex decision-making moments, making save scumming a more common practice. Do you agree RPGs have quite... When I was looking for examples, there are so many from Baldur's Gate 3. Pretty much all of them are Baldur's Gate 3.
Because there's so many choices in it.
Yeah. Well, I'll play a quick clip of some of the sound effects that I found.
Okay.
This is my well, I guess this one's interesting because in terms of understanding save scumming, so this act of replaying, arguments for save scumming, this first clip that I'll play, I think is an example of kind of the idea that the players have agency, right? You save scum because it's your game and you're in control, not the stupid random number generator that's there moving on. And this example from Baldur's Gate 3, I feel, perfectly emulates the idea of you save scum because it's my game and I have agency, not the stupid game. So let's listen to this example.
I'm loading it. I'm not sorry about
Save
this.
Save scum. Save scum.
Give me that S. Give me an A.
A. Let's do the
Give me
whole
a
thing.
V. What?
So let's do the whole thing.
So let's just break down what that was. So at the start of it, so you've played Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Right. So at the start of it is an image of a 20-sided die.
Yeah.
And it rolls. So that's the sound effect. He doesn't like it. It's a
I'm
failure.
loading it.
And he just goes, I'm reloading
I'm not sorry about
And he's
Save
not sorry.
scum.
Right? So again, that idea of I'm reloading it, I'm not sorry about it, player agency. What's that speaking to? As someone that's played Baldur's Gate 3, would you kind of say, yeah, I've done that?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it about that kind of save scumming that's important?
It's important. I don't think it's important.
Well, I guess in terms of that idea in the article that you're basically looking for a better quest reward at that stage or character relationship.
Well, that's the point, because if you don't roll a high enough level, it can be, high enough dice level, it can be quite limiting in the game. So if you don't do that, then you're actually going to have a worse game experience if you don't get a high enough dice roll.
And in terms of that judgment that some gamers feel that their experience suddenly becomes worse as a result of that, the next argument, it leads us nicely into the next argument for save scumming I've come across, which is that games, for those people that argue they should be able to save scum and they do save scum, it's because games are ultimately for fun and enjoyment, right? And as soon as that fun and enjoyment becomes threatened by them losing, particularly in a way they feel is cheap or undeserved, they will save scum. So
But in that case, there should be no online games whatsoever.
Well, again, we'll get into the arguments against it, and that's heading towards it. So here's an example, language advisory for this one, of someone very much espousing that save scumming is there and is used by gamers because games should be fun.
It's a recording of you, isn't it?
It's not. It's really not.
Baldur's Gate 3 has reignited an age-old debate in RPGs. Save scumming is...
Are you dead ass? Because ain't no way. I've been playing RPGs for 20 plus years and I've been doing it the wrong way. Let me tell you something. I get fucked in everyday life plenty enough. When I'm going to this fucking video game, I'm trying to escape into a mystical land of my design. Keyword, my design. So if you think I'm gonna let them fuck me like they fucking me in the real world in the game, bitch, I would just do life. It's supposed to be RPG. What am I role playing? Myself?
They all fucking died, man.
What am I role-playing myself? So again, that idea of player agency, right? I'm playing this game.
He says it's a game of his own design, but not really. Yeah. It's not really, unless he's the designer of the game.
Well, I mean, I think this is the interesting tension that safe scumming brings up, that many designers of the game, and there's a couple of articles we'll talk about, are angry at gamers doing this, right? And that anger is because, a game designer's power can only go so far, right? So yes, while a game designer and the idea that the author has control of the game has some power, examples of safe scumming, particularly when it's against what the designer intends, which is that, and we'll get around to some reasons why safe scumming can sometimes be less than ideal for the type of experience you'll end up having. In this case, though, the guy's saying that no, he can make the decision, that it's one of his agency in terms of he could stop playing, obviously, but he could also say, well, no, I'm just going to do it for fun and enjoyment. My work environment sucks. If I wanted to have a kind of experience out of my control.
It's really down to the, what's it called? The game designers, isn't it? Because if you think of the best game that's ever been released, which is Final Fantasy X.
Okay. It's on record, SMSN now.
It is. You can only save at the save points. And in most of the Final Fantasy games, you can only save at specific save points, which are physical save points in the game. And so that's how they've stopped people being able to do that.
Yep.
Is by having specific areas that will only save in these specific areas. Yeah.
And again, there'd be positive and negative points around that experience for some. I find myself concerned about playing a game where there's only manual save points because I'll have to make sure I've blocked out enough time. If dinner's coming around, for instance, I just can't play any further because I'll either walk away from the computer and not get back to it for 2 hours, or I'll just lose that progress because I'm not anywhere near a save point all of a sudden.
Can you save scum Microsoft Flight Simulator?
Well, yeah, you can't. No, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, I don't play Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I play IL-2 Flight Simulator.
Whatever.
And that one you can, but War Thunder you can't. I mean, you think that's kind of you're playing live PvP gaming. Anyway, so here's another example of fun and enjoyment. This one tries to provide more of a rationale around why this guy who's streaming Baldur's Gate 3 save scums at this point in the game. Actually, this is Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, they all fucking died, man. I can't do this. I gotta reload. I can't do it. I can't take it. I can't do it. It's too devastating. There's so much that you just lose there. There's so much. Very well. Think of all the storylines that go away with that.
So this is a guy, the title's This Is Why Save Scumming is the Right Thing to Do in Baldur's Gate 3. And again, what he's narrating here is that this particular moment, I mean, obviously he's played the game many times, and he feels that this particular moment, the type of they all died experience, he can't do it, right? It's just closed off too many possible storylines now that he's going to save scum it. Fun and enjoyment, I guess what's being said there is that the fun and enjoyment's been taken away. I want that agency to have those narrative options in my game still, so I'm going to save scum it. You could say maybe they would maybe the game would go in a different direction if you hadn't saved scum, which is the interesting part of it. That I don't know. I know because I do think. Well, I mean, other people use save scumming for as a learning tool. All right. So interestingly, there was an article I was digging up recently around some current news article that I'm going to try to find. It was I think it was StarCraft or something, and basically it was launching, and people were saying, are we going to save scum this or not? Right, in terms of learning the game. Right, if you don't know, for instance, that the next move you're going to make is going to trigger or is too risky, right? Save scumming can be used as a learning tool. So I'm going to save here because I'm not actually sure what this mechanic is, or I'm not sure about what the implication of making this act is.
Yep.
So I'll save scum. I'll learn this. Oh, my character dies because of this, or I lose this weapon. Oh, okay, I'm glad I found that out. I've learned something there. I'll go back to my save point now and play through. So it allows you, I guess, to take some risks that normally you'd be averse to taking from that save. And I know I do that. I know there was an article I was reading which was like, I won't save scum my first game because there's only one first game experience you ever have. I always save scum my first games, right? I'm thinking, well, my first games usually last a few minutes, right? That's because I do have that learning impulse. Well, I guess the rationale I give it is I'm still learning the game. So, and again, part of that is fun and agency, I guess. Like, okay, I want to have more fun in this game. I feel that was cheap. I'm only learning the game. I didn't know that mechanic would do that.
So what's the game that you've safe scummed the most?
Well, at the moment, the reason I'm looking at this is that I'm playing a Paradox strategy role-playing game again, Crusader Kings 3.
Oh, really?
Again.
Every time?
Yeah. I've got back into it.
Oh,
they've released a new patch, so I started playing it again. And what's really interesting about Crusaders King 3 is so basically you're taking the role of a some form of like it could be a lord, a king, a duchy owner in the medieval period. So I'm playing in like 866 or something. I mean, an Irish duchy holder, and
Peasant.
no. I'm an I've just established the Kingdom of Ireland.
Oh, right.
In like 870. Through a little bit of save scumming. So yeah, no, I've been save scumming extensively in this game, right? And I'm just thinking, like, it's a point now where it's a little too habitual. Like I'll think, okay, I need to get some money. You can do this raiding mechanic in the game where you can send your army out. So I've gone into Brittany to start raiding some towns and castles in France.
Oh, that didn't work.
Well, yeah, I save scummed at the start just to think, well, I'm not quite sure what their power levels are. I know they're in battle against this, against Prussia or something at the moment. So I'm going to save scum just to test how strong their military force is. And if I immediately die, then I'm not going to do my raiding. Yeah. So I save scum that level. And I was trying to rationalize it at the start of the game, saying, I'm learning what this raid mechanic is, and being able to assess how. And
now you do it before every raid.
Now I'm doing it all the time, right? So I'm realizing and I'm trying to unpack what the problem is, right? So these are the arguments around it. That if I've come home from work, I'm exhausted. The last thing I want to do is to feel completely screwed over in this game, right? So again, I'm sympathetic to these arguments. What about you? Well, you've asked that question. What game have you? I mean, how often do you save scum when you're playing a game? Generally?
Well, in terms of things like Skyrim, I do it rarely because as they said with not Morrowind, whichever one it was,
Daggerwind,
Daggerfall.
Yep.
I prefer to play through it. So like, yeah, if you get caught, then you serve out your sentence in jail, that sort of thing. But if there's like, if I've only got one lockpick left, for example, I'll save scum before that. Because if I break that lockpick, then I'll just try again.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, that in terms of the question of what situations or challenges would prompt you to save scum, and it's that high risk, high reward moment where it's like there's a high risk, but there's a really high reward.
Yeah.
And it's, again, in terms of a learning tool, right? You can save scum in terms of learning the game mechanic, but you could also not save scum, which is what a designer wants you to do, not save scum to learn the experience of the consequences of actions. Yeah. That risk-reward mechanic's an important one. But,
I'd say the one that I have saved scum the most in my life, though, is it was a game on the Game Boy Advance SP, or no, just Game Boy Advance as well, and it was Fire Emblem, The Sacred Stones. Great game.
Right. Fire Emblem did come up as one of the examples of save scum.
Because, well, in modern Fire Emblems, you can play it like it was before, or you can play this new mode. And the new mode means that if one of your characters dies, they just come back at the start of the next storyline. Whereas in the old one, and if you play classic version of the new one, if they die in the game, they die forever.
Yeah.
So you never get to have those characters again. So it's really difficult to not save scum because you might actually end up with just one character.
Look, it's and that's interesting around that idea of the power dynamic you have with the game and its design, right? So you want to have, sometimes save scumming is about, you know, we've heard some examples of, you know, asserting your right to play the game on your own terms, right? In terms of that high risk, high reward, that the risk of having to do the game again or to like you lose so much isn't worth it. And again, the counterpoint to that always is that argument that, you know, some games want to be really punishing, so you have that idea of accountability and consequence that comes from these dramatic examples. But
also at the same time, the game industry is sort of going towards anti-saving anyway, because the most popular games at the moment are roguelites and roguelikes.
Yeah, and these are games where you're not playing a rogue thief character.
No. These are games that you basically play through the game, and wherever you die or run out of whatever it is within the game, your run ends there. You start a completely new run. And then you start a completely new run.
And look, there's a broader, I guess, cultural malaise, which I think that helps in terms of, you know, save scumming is a kind of example of that general social anxiety about failure, right? And wanting to do something perfectly, right? And I think that's for me where
so
save
why
scumming
do you save scum?
Well, and this is why I found myself in an existential moment of angst, right? I'm thinking, is this actually no longer expressing the arguments for save scumming, which is, you know, it's my game, I can play it like I want to, player agency, or I'm only looking for this as escapist, you know, wish fulfillment power fantasy, so I'm gonna OP it.
Crusades.
Or I'm just learning the game and I don't want to get unfairly punished for being a new player, right? But I know the game now. Am I limiting the fun and enjoyment because I've been save scumming too much now, right? And again, I think there's this wonderful tension in the middle of this around save scumming as liberation, right? It's my game and I can play it like I want to. So that's a very liberating idea that, you know, screw what the game designers wanted. This is about me and my fantasy of power, right? So it's a very liberating narrative. To a sense of alienation, right? That the more I save scum, the less I actually feel any emotion towards the game. It's like it's so much about, you know, just perfecting it. Like, I'll just do it again and again and again. And so I no longer, like, the stakes just start disappearing. I know I can always save scum. I can always reverse that decision. And, you know, this pursuit of perfection, yes, I've attained it in terms of now I've got this uber thing, but actually the challenge has kind of dissipated from the game.
That reminds me of the first time that I played Final Fantasy X, because I also got one of those piggyback game guides, and I just followed the game guide exactly to the letter. It's like, oh yeah, here's a pillar. Instead of going around the pillar and having a look there, I knew that there was 5 potions behind there. Yep.
Well, this comes to the arguments against save scumming, which many communities have, right? So if you look at Discord or Reddit communities about save scumming, there's a huge stigma. If you admit to save scumming, you're often going to be completely trashed, as well as designers often saying, you know, save scumming is problematic, and it means there's 4 often used arguments against it. One is that it undermines the challenge. So we'll listen to a quick example, I feel, of someone undermining their own challenge by save scumming.
Okay, let me ask you guys a question. For those of you that have played...
Just before I go into... So this is a streamer who's playing Dead Space.
Yep.
And he's streaming to his community. And at this point, he starts talking to the community, because he's only learning the game at this point, and he starts talking to the community about how the save function works.
Yeah.
Played Impossible. Let's say that I die. Can I reload my save?
So the chat's
talking about can I save as often as I want?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I have another question. What if I think that I'm going to die, but I hit pause, timeout, and then I back to main menu. Does that work? Yes, save scumming works. Oh, shut the up, man. You guys do it too. You guys did it too. It does, but you're a pussy. You guys did it too. You see, this is up because you guys hold me, the strummer, to these unrealistic expectations. You're like, no, you have to do everything by the book, not allowed to cheat. No, but then you do all the shit that you tell me not to do. No, strummer, media tour strummer. Dude, I'm saving again, bro.
So that idea again of wanting to watch a Twitcher play the game, but saying, you know, and what he's, I guess, pushing back against there is this burden he feels is under to step up to the challenge, right? That save scumming, and again, the kind of internalized stigma around it is that you're taking a cheap option, you're undermining the challenge of the game, you're not going to fulfill the discovery, I guess, and consequences.
I would counter that with saying that he is receiving money from people on the internet to play a game. Can you really complain about that?
Well, let's have a look at community perception. I've got a couple of examples of the community perception towards save scumming.
All right, I'm never save scumming ever again. This is the last time ever that we're save scumming. I would never save.
Well, they're playing Skyrim.
Right, and he's just screwed up something, so he's doing it again.
All right, that was the last time. That was the last
so it's a lock
time.
pick.
Yeah.
Okay, look, we're gonna save right here. Not that we need to. Not that we need to.
So he's loading again.
I'm so pissed off right now.
Again, it is a fun contract. I think you're in as a game Twitcher in terms of save scumming, right? And you know what he's talking about there is that kind of cycle of I guess perfection, and the anxiety about failure. That he says we don't need to save it, but just in case. And of course he screws it. And rather than have that play out in terms of then seeing what type of experience might be there, what kind of design experience might be there, it's instead
game Twitcher. That's a new term.
Game Twitcher. Let's play another save scummer.
I'm gonna save first.
What? No.
Oh, so this is someone playing Ace Attorney, which is another game that comes up quite a lot as the one that people just save scum. In this game, you're playing as a lawyer, right? So I imagine there are moments where you want to get the right dialogue choice.
Yeah.
No. We ain't doing no save scumming.
Please
You
save.
are committing.
Nope, no, we're not.
One replay later.
Saving again.
Nice.
I hate this.
What?
I hate this. I hate this.
Stop
It's a very emotional moment.
right there.
Save.
Scum. Nobody breaks the law on my watch.
I'm sure we've all at least save scummed at some point. Whether that's through quick saving or quick loading, if you're playing on emulator and using save states, it's an easy pattern to get yourself into. And after a while, you're asking yourself, am I really taking away from the experience? What happened if things go wrong? What if things go the way I don't expect them to? Should I just quick load and try again? Or should I roll with it? Looking at the source of Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. So it is interesting. I do feel like that. I mean, there's something really quite deep about human desire. I think at the heart of the save scumming paradox. This desire for total control. I'm too anxious to fail, and I want it to be perfect, right? Versus, you also want to play a game that's going to be authentic, that's going to surprise you, maybe, right? And that save scumming question confronts, I guess, many gamers with the sense of limitations they have with the game, and if they want to embrace the immersiveness of not save scum. I mean, because I'm going to try and not save scum anymore. Well, a little. I'm only going to save scum at really important moments.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like there's some ideas around embracing the consequences of those actions, and particularly for role-playing games, and many designers talk about this, that actually, And it's a lot in the Crusader Kings 3 community, which seems, if you look at Reddit, to be split into two camps often, or people doing kind of various types of things on a spectrum. One is a kind of, you want to win the game and what's called paint the map. That is, you want to conquer every other nation and paint the map with your nation's color as the ultimate global ruler. And that often is a min-maxer, optimize strategy game where it's all about safe scumming or kind of using some of the broken mechanics of the game. And on the other side of the spectrum, you've got the role players that say, no, you'll always win generally in this game because it's geared towards a more role-playing space, and even if your character doesn't achieve certain goals, there'll be some surprising twists next. So even if your character dies, you can inherit your throne through your son or your daughter, and that can be the more interesting story all of a sudden.
Well, it just reminds me of Skyrim, and there's all of these mods dedicated to making it so you don't play through the main storyline of the game.
Right,
It will
instead
turn
you're
it
immersing
off.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you're not really... I mean, would that still involve some safe scumming?
Well, it might do, depending on who
designs?
you are, but also it could lead to not safe scumming at
Yeah.
all, because
Yeah.
there's no need
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, look, and I think it is about...
To advance the story.
About trying to rationalize why you're playing the game. If you're looking for challenge and to discover some unexpected consequences and to not be ridiculed online as a safe scummer, and to be have some sense of integrity yourself, then you won't safe scum, right? And again, the idea of is challenge, discovery, and consequence. Or again, if you push back against that and say, no, it's my game, I'm going to play it like I want to, which is safe scum for fun and enjoyment, and to learn the mechanics of the game because I'm new at it.
Keep telling yourself that.
Well, that's Media Mothership for another week. Thanks very much, everyone, for listening. We'll post some stuff up on the internet about this. This has led me to a further topic I want to do, which is rage quitting.
Oh, yeah,
As
brilliant.
I was looking into this idea and asking people about their own safe scumming experiences. Inevitably, rage quitting came up more often as an experience, emotional experience they had. They'll say, well, I don't know if they safe scum, but they definitely rage quit.
Yeah.
Have lost friends. So we might get around to that. Coming up next, we've got K-Pop Unlimited finally.
Yeah.
So keep listening to that. Thanks for listening to Media Mothership for another week. This has been, I think we're up to episode 102.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty good. Show notes.
You've dragged this out.
Show notes. This is a new topic. I don't think we've done this one yet. You can listen to previous episodes of Media Mothership on YouTube, Twitch, or at edgeradio.org.au. And you can find out more about us on Facebook and Instagram.
Just Google Media Mothership.
Just Google Media Mothership. All right. And think about your own safe scumming behavior and whether or not that's agency for you or depriving yourself of a bit of immersion.
Exactly.